Quickly, I'll get into it. Structuralism and deconstructionism. Well, here we go. There is our cool little chart that I made especially for you guys. And remember, what we're looking for is a quick rundown of what these isms are. This is literary criticism. As you know, it's quite annoying and quite convoluted, and they do this on purpose because I told you before, English majors are jealous of the sciences with all their fancy terminology and complicated rigmarole and yakety yak. So what they've done is they made up their own terms and overcomplicated ways of looking at literature. If you decide you want to be an English major, my heart goes out to you. It's an awesome thing, but there's a whole lot of weird philosophy. And in this case, let's just look at these two, because I'm going to stand up here and spin my wheels quickly. And I will have to continue it in a following video. Let's talk about structuralism for a second, and then we'll knock it off and then we'll move over to deconstruction. Structuralism, again, you're putting on different glasses to look at literature. And we're going to say that structuralism, the world is structured, at least in the human brain. The brain trains itself to look for systems of signs and patterns and recognize. This is why we tend to be superstitious, and we're always looking for signs and patterns in the way life works and things happen in the world. Truth. For a structuralist, we're going to find it in deep structures beneath the surface. So if we're reading a book, we want to look for special structures. I'll do Harry Potter again in a minute, probably in a subsequent video. History, it moves in cycles and patterns. It's never linear. And you hear people say that all the time. History repeats itself. Or history doesn't just repeat itself, it rhymes. Or history doesn't repeat actually, it just rhymes. You've heard those quotes. But again, the human mind looks for cycles. It looks for patterns. Hierarchy, which I need to stretch that out. Any kind of hierarchy in the world, or hierarchy the way we classify ourselves as human beings, it reflects coded oppositions. Structuralists oftentimes are allied with anthropologists such as Jean-Claude Lévi-Strauss and all that, and these guys are big into binary opposites. It's either raw or it's cooked. It's rich or it's poor. Male or female, young or old, and they're always looking for those binary opposites. And structuralists are really good at that when they look at literature. Culture for them is a web, you see, of interrelated symbols. A sign, signifier, and signified. And we don't need to get into all that, but every single word, every single letter, it represents something in our minds, and we have to agree. When I teach trucking class, I've never talked about my trucking class, but just an example, trucking. One of the most important things you have to do when you're backing, the best thing that you can do is you're backing up this big old 80,000-pound truck. Beep, beep, beep. And you can't really see because you have these big giant mirrors on either side of the truck. But you can't always see what's back there because you got this huge, a lot of times a huge boxy van or reefer behind you, and you're trying to back into this little itty bitty space. And it's a good thing to have what we call a spotter. And a spotter is just some other guy or girl who stands outside, usually wearing an orange vest or a yellow vest, and they do hand signals this way and that way and this way and that way, and all that kind of stuff, right? So, one of the most important things for these spotters and the trucker to agree on is whatever you want to mean stop. Some people say this, some people say this, some people say this, but you have to agree. You and your spotter have to agree on what is stop, because that's the most important symbol, the sign that you must know. So structuralists will jump on this and they'll just go gaga over this kind of stuff in literature as well. It's this idea of agreed upon symbols. This is what culture and style and art, especially art, according to them, and style and art, they're going to look at something called archetypes. Let's pull up the word archetype for a second. What is an archetype? Well, an archetype is a very typical example of a certain person or thing. That's a nice one. If you think tree, and all of us have an image of a tree in our brains. And what the image is usually an archetypal image of a tree that most people might be able to see. Or if you say Schwarzenegger is an archetypal He-Man. Or the new guy, what's his name? He sings You're Welcome. You're welcome. Oh, The Rock. Dwayne Johnson, I think his name is. Yeah, archetypal muscle man. So it's a typical example of a certain person or thing. Sometimes an ideal example of a person, place, or thing. So this is what structuralists look for in literature.